Back onto business news now. The MTN Group says it will challenge a fine of about 58 billion rand in the Nigerian High Court in Lagos. MTN says it's resolved that the fine wasn't within the powers of the country's telecommunications regulator to impose.
Africa's biggest phone company says it will also continue to engage with the Nigerian authorities to try and ensure an amicable resolution. The Nigerian communications regulator imposed a penalty on MTN for failing to meet a deadline to disconnect 5.1 million unregistered subscribers. A payment deadline was set for December the 31st, when the fine was reduced from a higher amount earlier this month. For more on the story, we cross live to our Nigerian correspondent, Sophia Adengo in Abuja. Sophia, good evening and thank you so much for joining us. Now, does MTN have a viable case against the Nigerian Communications Commission?
Well, you know, MTN was the first multinational company to realize that Nigeria was rife with opportunity, an opportunity market in which they could come in and take a lion's share of, revenue. And indeed, MTN and the, Nigerian Communications Commission have shared a really great relationship up until October of this year, in which MTN breached security by continuing to, hold on to subscribers who were unregistered, a total of 5 million, and the national, security agencies looked into the matter not necessarily from a business perspective, but from a security perspective, slapping the ban of $5 billion. The ban, of course, was contested by MTN and reduced to $3.4 billion. And, at that point, we thought the matter had been resolved. However, there was an increase of the fine from 3.9 billion, from 3.4 to 3.9 billion. And that's where MTN took issue and looked into the matter and realized that the manner in which the fine was imposed upon them by the Nigerian Communications Commission needed to be, looked into. But more importantly, at this point, looks like the national the Nigerian Communications Commission has to answer as to how and why the ban was imposed to such a heavy, in such a heavy manner. So it does look like that MTN may have a case against the Nigerian Communications Commission, and that's why this has to be heard out in court. Lulu?
Now, Sophia, MTN has expressed its desire to continue to engage with the Nigerian authorities. Do we know if the parties are still engaging each other, and what do we know about the state of those engagements?
Well, we know very little, Lulu, only because these negotiations have been behind closed doors and not a lot of the detail made public. But what has been, expressed or talked about is from the perspective of the MTN lawyers, in which they have continuously queried the manner in which these fines have been imposed. That's a way of looking at it. But the other way of looking at it also is that the Nigerian Communications Commission must spell out why it is that there has been such a discrepancy in these fines levied upon MTN. And also the deadline that was slated for December 31st has been moved, back and forth. And of course, these are the matters that are on the table at the moment. Lulu?
Now, has the Nigerian government responded to MTN's allegations of criminal conspiracy?
Well, the Nigerian government has always felt that MTN had always had, really a great bottom line in Nigeria with a great return of investment. So a fine of $3.4 billion or $3.9 billion is not necessarily very much for a company that has enjoyed, a great business relationship here in Nigeria. A direct response from the government is still, of course, awaited, because this is a continuing negotiation that, of course, we'll see playing out in the Lagos High Court very shortly. Lulu?
Sophia, Nigeria is facing economic strain, and some critics have pointed to this massive fine as a way to make gains. Is the sentiment correct?
Well, it's difficult to comment on that. You know, Nigeria's economy is more complex and more layered than, is set in face value. But, you know, there are a lot of myths that need to be, sort of brought to light in doing business in Nigeria. MTN is one such example of how a multinational company comes into a unique space in which, you know, you participate with the Nigerian government and expand the economy in providing jobs and also generating some form of revenue for the country in terms of fines and taxes. But, at this point, it's very difficult to comment on that directly, Lulu.
Thank you, Sophia, for joining us. That was our Nigeria correspondent, Sophia Adengo, bringing us up to date with the developments in Nigeria regarding the fine imposed on Africa's biggest mobile operator, MTN.